Hey everyone, Mahone33 coming at you. I'd like to do a video about Drew Peterson. Drew Peterson, you may think, I know that name. That's because he stirred up quite a media frenzy over the last at least 10, I'd say about 9 years. Um, it began with the disappearance of his fourth wife, Stacy Peterson, which led to them looking into the case of his third wife, Kathleen Savio, who died supposedly of drowning in a dry bathtub. Drew was later convicted of murdering Kathleen Savio. But the real reason that I'm making this video is I'd like to get the word out there about Stacy. She's still missing. This has had a big impact, I know, on her family and friends, and in our community in general. Stacy, when she disappeared in 2007, and what I'm going to start with is a little bit of background on Drew Peterson and move forward, and then we'll get to the point where we'll discuss the disappearance of Stacy Peterson, and hopefully somebody out there, this video will generate some memories or generate new leads, or may even they're supposed to be really looking into this case, but to my knowledge, I haven't heard much about her disappearance since at least Drew's conviction of his third wife, Kathleen Savio. So I'm hoping this will ring some bells in someone's head, and maybe we can generate some new leads. So let us begin. Okay, Drew Peterson. He was born January 5th, 1954. He attended Willowbrook High School, where he actually met his first wife, Carol Brown. He graduated in 1972 and then went to the College of DuPage briefly. He then signed up with the United States Army and was transferred to Falls Church, Virginia, to train as a military police officer. He began his career with the Bolingbrook Police Department in 1977. He was later assigned to the Metropolitan Area Narcotics Squad, and in 1979 he received an award for Police Officer of the Year. As I had mentioned, Carol Brown, who he had met in high school, was his first wife. Their marriage lasted from 1974 to 1980, when Carol Brown alleged Drew was cheating, that there was infidelity involved in the marriage. It is notable that they had two sons together, Stephen Paul Peterson, who was born in 1980, and Eric Drew Peterson. His second wife, Victoria Connolly, he married her in 1982. During their marriage, Victoria Connolly alleged there was quite a bit of abuse during that time. They were married a total of 10 years. She had a daughter already that lived in the house. She divorced Peterson, uh, right around the time he began to start dating Kathleen Savio. Um, Victoria's and Drew's divorce was finalized in February of '82. Now, Kathleen Savio, I would like to give you a little background on her. She was born on June 13th, 1963. Together with Drew, they had two sons, Thomas, who ironically was born on January 5th, and Christopher, who was born August 8th, 19. During their marriage, um, it was reported that between the years of 2002 and 2004, there were numerous domestic disturbance calls. Um, and some of these included Drew bringing the children home late from visitation. On March 1st, 2004, Kathleen was found deceased in her bathtub. The bathtub was empty, but the coroner's jury concluded that it was an accidental drowning. And I'll explain a little bit more of how Kathleen Savio and the efforts of her family brought this case back to life from it being an accidental death. I'll go into that after I talk a little bit about Stacy Peterson. Now, Stacy Peterson, her maiden name, Stacy Ann Cales, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I apologize if I am not. She was born January 20th, 1984. And she took the name of Stacy Peterson when her and Drew married. They had two children together, Anthony and a daughter named Lacey. Anthony was born in 2003 and Lacey was born in 2005. Apparently she had disappeared on October 28th, 2007, but wasn't officially reported missing until sometime on October 29th. This is actually where the details get a little hazy. The last known message from Stacy to her family was to her father. She left him a voice message 11 days before her disappearance, which would be October 17th. I'll just basically paraphrase it. She was just calling to tell her dad that she loved him and to give her dad her new phone number. It was then on October 29th when the official report of her missing was made after her sister Cassandra Cales failed to hear from her, and she was expecting a call. Now, Drew Peterson had claimed that Stacy called him on the phone and told him that she was leaving with another man and had left her car at Clow International Airport, which is located in Bolingbrook. Now, you have to understand, Clow International Airport isn't a huge airport like your LAX, your O'Hare. It is a smaller airport. So, to me, it doesn't sound legit because, and I'm saying this is just my personal opinion, because it would almost mean that she had to, if she left all her car at Clow International Airport, she would have had to have booked a charter plane, or the person that she supposedly left with had a personal plane. Um, but I want to speak candidly for a minute about Stacy. Um, from the friends that I have spoke to of Stacy's, from the reports of Stacy, everything points that she was a loving mother, and I don't think she would have just up and left her kids, and especially, with the history involved in hers and Drew's relationship. Some things were alleged, uh, abuse. Um, I don't think she would have left her kids, in Drew's hands. That's just my opinion, and from what I've read about her and the people that I talked to that knew Stacy, she just sounded like she was a very fun-loving, a very great mother, and very family-orientated. So I personally just do not believe that she would pick up with some guy and run off to parts unknown and never contact her family. Now, that's just my personal opinion. Now, in 2007, the Illinois State Police and the FBI got involved, and warrants were issued, I believe a total of 4, and they were issued for Peterson's property, Stacy's car, and they seized all of the guns at Peterson's home. Then, following this, a person named Rick Mims came forward and admitted that he had gotten 3 blue containers from a cable company where they both worked part-time in 2003, and provided photos of these containers to the police. Mims sold his story to the tabloids for an undisclosed amount of money. So, I mean, one can think about this and say, is this a true story? Were there blue barrels, or was he just selling a story to the tabloids to make some unclosed money? I don't know. I'm just offering both sides, and I'm not accusing him of anything. But just when you a lot of times when you sell your story to the tabloids, some tabloids aren't as credible as a regular newspaper, or going to the police directly and so forth. Now, Thomas Morphy, who had a history of drug addiction, attempted suicide 2 days after he said he allegedly helped Drew carry a large blue plastic container from the Drew Peterson and Stacy's home to a sports utility vehicle. I guess in his mind, he thought that he may have had been involved with moving Stacy's body, and he felt that Stacy's body was in that blue container. Well, neighbors did report seeing Peterson and another man moving a blue container. Now, I not too many years ago, they did find a blue container in the Des Plaines River, which is a river that flows through the Joliet area, so forth. It's not too far from Bolingbrook. When the news first broke of this blue container being in the Des Plaines River, a lot of people were under the impression that that was where Stacy was in this blue barrel. Well, it turned out that it wasn't Stacy that was in the blue barrel. So, to date, Stacy still remains missing. And Drew began a media campaign and started acting very erratic uh, during this whole period of time of Stacy's disappearance. Um, and thanks to the Salvio family, they were able to get the police involved and have them take a second look at the death of Kathleen Savio. Um, the Some of Drew Peterson's appearances were Larry King Live. He was on with Mancow Muller. He did a lot of appearances, some even after his arrest. Now, ironically, during this whole period of time, it was announced that he was engaged to Christine Rains. Christine, who was 23, would been his fifth wife had their engagement continued. But Rains did eventually, as her friends and family put it, came to her senses, and a lot of people that were close to them alleged that it might have been a publicity stunt. But again, this is just other people's opinions and so forth. Now, where the important thing comes into play here, where we go back to Kathleen Savio, is that on May 7th, 2009, he was indicted by the grand jury, Drew Peterson, and his bail was set at $20 million. Now, it's very important to understand that the Savio family had to go through having Kathleen's body exhumed and an independent autopsy done on it. And I can only imagine how much hurt that must have caused them to have that done. And it was determined that there was foul play involved in her death, and that's how the indictment came to be involved. And you have to applaud the Savio family, because I mean, I'm sure that from the time that Kathleen was killed, or if you want to say passed away, people know. I mean, they just know. And one of the things that was always popping up was the fact that Kathleen was found in a dry bathtub, and a lot of people have brought up the fact, how did she drown in a dry bathtub? Some argue maybe it was a loose, drain, etc., etc. But there was no trace of any, water in that bathtub when she was found. In 2010, it was revealed hearsay statements. Drew Peterson had said that he had killed two of his wives. This was all hearsay, and it came down to Judge Stephen White to decide if they were going to allow the hearsay in. White ruled that prosecutors proved Peterson killed both Kathleen Savio and Stacy Peterson by appearance of the evidence, but nearly all statements that were involved with Stacy Peterson do not provide sufficient safeguards of reliability. It's in law, it's the part of the prosecutor to prove beyond the benefit of a doubt that Drew killed Stacy. So I'm not legally versed, so forth, but what I believe the judge was saying is that, in his opinion, it was proving that he did kill both Kathleen and Stacy, but the burden of proof wasn't met on Stacy's part for the beyond the reasonable doubt. And so the case proceeded. In April 2012, a ruling was made in the murder case of Kathleen. An Illinois appellate court ruled that prosecutors could use 8 statements made by both the prior victim and by Peterson's still missing 4th wife, Stacy, prior to her disappearance. The ruling reversed Judge Stephen White's decision to not allow statements in. Now, the prosecution was helped by the passage of a newer Illinois state law at the time. It became known as Drew's Law. It allows prosecutors to enter hearsay statements into evidence under certain conditions. This was passed while investigators were still looking for Stacy Peterson. The legislation permits courts to consider statements from unavailable witnesses. So, for instance, if Stacy had kept a diary or made a film video or something like that, this, to my understanding, and again, I'm not very legal, but I know a little bit, and so they would allow evidence from unavailable witnesses. So I mean, this here is a good case that if you are in some sort of abusive relationship and you think your partner, may kill you or something, make videos, write things down. It breaks my heart to think that Stacy may be dead, and I just hope that this evidence will eventually allow them to pursue convicting Drew of Stacy's murder. In 2012, Jeff Pachter, a witness at Peterson's murder trial, said that Peterson had offered him a substantial amount of money to kill Savio. The amount stated was $25,000, and told him it would be a secret he would take to his grave. Now, the verdict was decided on September 6th of 2012. Peterson was sentenced to 38 years in prison for the murder of Kathleen Savio, and was transferred to the Stateville Correctional Center the next morning. He was processed and then moved to Pontiac Correctional Center, where he is known as inmate M35067. He did file an appeal, but his appeal was denied by the appellate court. It would be interesting to know that there was a Lifetime movie that was made about this whole thing. Drew Peterson is played by Rob Lowe, and in the film, Kathy, I'm going to probably pronounce this wrong, I apologize, Cuccio played Stacy Peterson. Peterson filled a cease and desist letter demanding that the production of the movie be halted. The film originally aired January 21st, 2012 on Lifetime television. Now, I want to get back to Stacy. Now, there's somebody out there that knows something. There's and some of these people that have come forward, but there has to be someone out there that's seen something more. I mean, it might have just been something you didn't even think was of importance, but every little clue, every little statement, everything that people seen could help in finding out what happened to Stacy. I personally, from my heart, I pray that she's still alive and that, you know, maybe she hit her head and got amnesia, or, you know, I always like to try to look at the positives of things. And I know her family and her children love her very, very much. And just the same as the Savio family loved Kathleen. And I just hope there is some justice for Stacy. I mean, if you are out there and you're watching this video and you know something, call the authorities. You've seen in the beginning of the video, and I'll put it again at the end of the video, her missing poster. I mean, it just, there's just got to be someone out there that knows something more, and it's time to come forward. She's been gone since 2007, 9 years, and I just really, from my heart and my soul, I ask that if you know something about the disappearance of Stacy, please come forward. It's time. Do the right thing. And if Stacy is no longer with us, then, and you do know something, at least help locate where she is to give the family peace. I mean, losing a loved one and not knowing the answer to where they are, I can only imagine, is one of the worst feelings in the world. And my heart goes out to Stacy's family. And I pray that someone watching this video will come forward and offer some information to where Stacy is. And again, I pray that she's alive, but if she is no longer with us, the family needs closure. So please, it's time to come forward and bring the family closure. With that, I'll be closing this video. I do apologize for mispronunciation of names and so forth. I just hope that whoever out there that's watching this video, if you know something, pick up that phone. It's all you have to do is pick up that phone. And I know, and I believe still in the state of Illinois, we have Crime Stoppers. You can probably call anonymously. If just please give this family some closure. Thank you. This is Mahone33, and I'm wishing you all the best. And to Stacy Peterson's family, well, I believe they like to call her Stacy Cales again, but to Stacy Peterson's family and to Kathleen Savio's family, my heart goes out to you, and I hope this video will make some sort of impact. God bless.